guys, so we're going to do a June wrap-up and a May TBR. This is going to be really fun because I had a good month of reading. I enjoyed pretty much everything I read. There was one exception, but I am really excited to share these with you, and then we'll do the TBR for July. So first one up, we have Promise of Blood, which is by Brian McClellan. It is a gunpowder-based magic system, and I really enjoyed it. This was the Bookie Club pick, and we were reading it together, but I'm getting so much more engagement over on Discord. We're going to go ahead and move the book club over to Discord and start doing it on there, and we'll talk about the next book in the book club that we're going to do. Kind of fun just to talk with each other and that kind of thing. So Promise of Blood was great. I gave it, I believe I gave it 5 stars, but I really would have rated it 4.5. There was a couple things that probably needed to be worked on. I'm assuming that his later books will be even better, and I'm really excited to read the rest of this series. I liked it a lot, and I would recommend it to other people. The magic system was really cool. They snorted gunpowder, and it made them do all kinds of cool stuff. In my Goodreads review, I'll link when I finally do it up above the Promise of Blood review, but in the Goodreads review, I said the gunpowder was like cocaine, steroids, magic juice, and it was really neat. Okay, like I said, I had one that I didn't enjoy, and that was Aliens Among Us. When I do my wrap-up for the I Want to Believe reading challenge, I will share those thoughts with you. I have it recorded already. I don't believe that this lady was truthful or honest in any of these stories that she put before us, and I will explain that in another video later. But I did not enjoy it, gave it 2 stars. I think her tactics for getting, I'm kind of going into it, but I think her tactics for getting these stories from people was very predatory. And you'll hear more about that later. All right, so I'll put a picture up here. Xenos by Dan Abnett was the first Warhammer 40K book that I read. I gave it 3 stars, but only because I didn't get a lot of the pre-existing world building that Warhammer has already got out. I think Xenos was not the first book I should have started with. I got it from NetGalley and wanted to dive into it because Black Library had given me a couple of books, and I enjoyed Warhammer a lot. It was a fun get into it. Eisenhorn, the main character, was really interesting. He's a inquisitor, so he's a religious zealot that was trying to stamp out heresy. I mean, these guys were really bad. What I've learned about Chaos so far is it is not at all something that you want to be a part of. So I would say Xenos is pretty good if you've already been into Warhammer a little bit. I've heard Horus Heresy is really where you need to start, and I'd like to get into that. But Xenos was not a good start off point, I think, for me at all. I also read Binti by Niedi Okorafor, and it was really good. It was a short story, less than 100 pages, where an Afro-futuristic tale. I'll link my review up above. I really enjoyed it. A futuristic sci-fi world where she goes to a college, but she's from a African tribe, and a real African tribe. When I did my research on it and looked everything up, it was really interesting and really neat, and a cool thing that you don't see very often in sci-fi, and I was excited to get into it. I have Binti home. I'm not going to read it in July, but maybe very soon I will. Terminal World by Alistair Reynolds was one of the books that I read this month, and I loved it. I've heard Alistair Reynolds does great space opera stories, and I was really excited. Got in his work, did a review on it. It's a standalone sci-fi, has some steampunk elements that are really cool as well, and it was great. I was amazingly surprised. I thought maybe it would just be okay, but I found myself loving it. I couldn't put it down. It was great. And then Summer Night by Jim Butcher, book 4 in the Dresden Files. We did, for the group chat. We haven't done our get together yet, but I'm really excited to do the get together, and I've really enjoyed my trip through the Dresden Files, and I might continue again in July. And then my audiobook for the first Harry Potter book finally came in, so I went ahead and read that as well. I'd never listened to Harry Potter on audiobook, so I've kind of got them all on hold, and the library, I think it had like a 24-week hold time on it, So, I was like, whenever it comes in, I'll just do it. It wasn't originally on my TBR, but I did get to it. What I finished today on July 2nd when I'm filming this was The Tattooist of Auschwitz, and it was also really, really good. It's not quite nonfiction. I give it 4 stars because she took some liberties with, basically she did interviews with this gentleman, and then because she kind of wanted to make it more of a story, she kind of filled in the blanks, kind of Jurassic Park style, where yes, dinosaurs were real, but we added the sci-fi element. Well, in this, his life story was real, but she added her, interconnectivity of the story. It still emotionally resonated. It was still very, very good. And a lot of people talked about the prose, where the lady kind of just put facts on paper and said, he did this, he did that, he did. I listened to the audiobook, so I didn't find it that way. Maybe the narrator makes it a lot more of a encompassing story where it's more enjoyable. But I found it very enjoyable and very emotionally resonating. Cried a little bit and found it very good. And then I've read 2 short stories, and I like them a bunch. It was The Paper Menagerie by Ken Liu. I'd like to read the rest of his short stories. He's got a collection of them. And then They Are Made of Meat by Terry Bisson. Christy from Dostoevsky in Space sent me a link to this one. That's what she did for her I Want to Believe reading challenge. And it was funny. It was like aliens talking about, are you telling me they're made of meat? Really, what do they think with? They think with their meat? Yeah, they think with meat. It was good. Also, I read Warbreaker. I've been listening to it on audiobook. I was about 50% done at the start of the month, and I went ahead and finished it up once I got done with the audiobooks that I had kind of on my TBR. It was one of those that I'm just trying to get back through the Cosmere. Want to do some videos on it, and I enjoy Warbreaker very, very much. It's a great story, and did a review on that as well. Another one of the books that I read was The Stand. This is the library copy. I didn't realize that my copy, which I really enjoy, is about 817 pages. This copy is about 1,000 pages. Stephen King re-released this in 1990, and it's not a very different story from what I can tell, but there's about 400 pages of fluff that a lot of people say there's one thing that you're missing out that's really, really good. The rest of it is just a little bit more character development, a little bit more of King being King. But my copy was great. I enjoyed the character building. I enjoyed the way the characters interacted, the good versus evil story, meeting Randall Flagg, who is the big bad guy for most of Stephen King's stories, the most prominent person in his stories. And I just really enjoyed the whole thing. I loved it. I really found it enjoyable. I got the library copy because I'm going to do a dedicated review on it here in a little bit, and I wanted to show the difference and kind of talk about some of the things that King did. He kind of modernized it again. This copy was put out early 80s, so everything is 1985. And then when he did this one, he moved everything up to 1990. So there were some things that changed, and but I found this cover really, really enjoyable. I don't know if you can see it, but it looks like just a man with eyes, but when you get close to it, it's a man and a raven. And like the raven's kind of looking, so one eye's the raven, one eye's a man's eye. I love this cover. I thought it was really, really interesting how they subtly did that. So that's everything I read in June, and I really, really enjoyed my reading in June. Other than Aliens Among Us, I really enjoyed everything I read. All right, so July TBR. Let's start out with, I'm going to read a few short stories on Arcanium Unbounded. I'm currently reading the comic White Sands, which it has a lot of descriptions in here about the planets. I don't know if you've ever looked in Arcanium Unbounded, but it'll give you maps of, like they even have part of White Sands in here, but I'm reading it on Hoopla personally because it's got all 3 of them where I can read them concurrently. But White Sand is in here, but it talks about, they're in the Taladan system, and it kind of talks about how they work together. Taladan is a planet that doesn't move. It's got a bright sun here and a lighter sun here, but there's a particulate ring. So you have a light side and a dark side. You have dark side and day side, and the Sand Masters, who do use sand magic, are on this side. And then the Darksiders, they live in like perpetual gloom. But Arcanium Unbounded has all these really good descriptions of the systems. Like we got a big one on Roshar, got a big one on Scadriel. What is this one for? And then they have some really nice artwork at the beginning of the chapters. What is this one? This is Alimentor Jack in the Pits of Alantia, which is part of, I think that's part of Scadriel. Yeah, because they have 11th metal, and I think they have the Secret History of Mistborn Secret History. So I'm gonna try to knock out a few of these. I looked on his website. He's actually got a signed copy of this for like 28 bucks. I might pick up. So we're gonna do some Arcanium Unbounded. Might do a Cosmere video this month, and kind of talking about the interconnectivity of investiture. All right, so the other one that I'm reading is Shadows for Silence in the Forests of Hell, which is a 50-page short story. It is one of the few that he hasn't actually wrote a book in. He wrote a short story for George R. R. Martin's Collected Stories about a lady named Silence, and she's in this world where evil has taken over their original continent, and then they created a continent over on another part of the world, but they are really, really hampered by spirits. Basically, evil spren, if you know anything about the Stormlight Archive, are roaming the wilds after people die. So they're, again, I'll talk some Cosmere stuff and do a video and kind of explain it really, really well. Really digging into the lore, trying to get some good Cosmere content on the channel. So I'm going to do that a lot this month. July will be a big, heavy Cosmere month for me. All right, and like I said, we're doing the book club over on Discord now. So if you want, Discord link in the description. A lot of great people in there. We have tons of conversations. Sometimes I'll come home and there's 70 messages of people chatting back and forth. We had a whole conversation about fantasy names, and then we all gave each other nicknames on our like Discord nicknames. I'm like a one who summarizes Leslie's of Puppers and Disney, I think. I can't remember what Michael Knipp did. Christy had, we've all got funny nicknames that are like fantasy title related nicknames, and they're really good. If you want to join the Discord, it's a lot of fun. We have good time there. But Dreamer's Pool is by Juliet Marlier. I don't know a whole lot about it. Christy Lewis from Dostoevsky in Space recommended it as a book club pick, and a lot of people want to read it, so I have it on my Kindle, which is right here. And so Kindle's on the TBR. But I would love to get to it, and I think we're starting it July 9th, if I remember correctly. The link is in the Discord. You can see when we're starting it. And at about halfway point, I'd love to do a discussion where we can get on Discord, kind of chat, and then maybe at the end as well where we all talk about it. No hurry. We maybe do 50 pages a day. If you can't keep up with that, we can hold off. So the book club's not once a month kind of thing. It's more of a when we all get done with it. So no strict rules on my book clubs because I can't keep to a schedule. One thing that I'm reading with another booktuber who he's pretty big. He's Movie Death Cult. He's doing the Culture series. So the first one is Consider Phleboeus, and I think I'm saying that right. I've got it on Audible. I've listened to the first chapter, and so far pretty interesting. And I'm going to read that in his kind of book club kind of thing. And it fits some of the Tome Infinity stuff. I might make a separate video on like all the things that are checked off on my Tome Infinity. I'm just going to kind of fill out. I'm not going to do it as heavy as some people, but I'd like to participate in it. I don't do like read-alongs very well, but Tome Infinity, sci-fi, and I love sci-fi, so I might get into that as well. So with the library opening back up, I kind of went a little crazy. Terminal World from last month was a library book. Arcanium Unbounded is a library book. I picked up the Stand so that I can do that review from the library. And I picked up this one. It is Sci-Fi Gold, The Foundation by Isaac Asimov. This is book 1. There's a trilogy plus a bunch of other stories as well. I have Second Foundation over there in the other bookshelf. And I think I have Fording the Foundation too. But I didn't have this one. And I want to do Asimov. I've got iRobot too. I put that in as a book club pick for the reading book club. So if you guys don't want to read Dreamer's Pool but are ready for iRobot in the future, that's going to be one of the picks that we do soon too as well. Another library book, I picked this one up for the cover, is called Mort. I thought it was Morte for a while, but listening to some reviews, it's Mort. I don't know what the E is, but the cover was really interesting. I was just walking through the library, and I thought, wow, this is cool. But it's about ants gain sentience, and all the other animals kind of join them to overthrow us humans. But Mort is looking for his best friend, who is a border collie, and the only other creature in the world that has been friendly to him is this border collie, and he's trying to find him after the war. So, and then trying to read this with my son. He really enjoyed the first book, and I'm going to see what I can do. Middle grade book that Edge Chronicles. The map in here is really what enticed me to hand it to him when we were. I don't know if you can see that really well, but supposedly there's some other covers too. Gaia Athena, who I love. She's an awesome friend. And she said the Dutch covers were really, really cool, so I'd love to check those out. I've been meaning to Google it, and I haven't, but I told her I would, and I will. But she said the Dutch covers are different. I'd like to see what some of the foreign covers look like. That'd be really cool. So when you talk to your neighbor about books, they recommend books to you. And he said, hey, I've got the first book in this series. This is military sci-fi. This is Dauntless, book 1 in the Lost Fleet series by Jack Campbell. Somebody else recommended this to me, so I already had it on my Goodreads TBR for sci-fi, and he's like, yeah, man, these are great. He was reading like the 5th one, and he handed me the first one, so I want to get to this so I can give it back to him. And the final part of the I Want to Believe reading challenge is First Contact book, which is Sphere. I've already read a First Contact book, so technically I've completed the challenge with They're Made of Meat, but these are the ones that I said I was going to read, so Aliens Among Us and Sphere, and I'll do a review when I finish them up. I've also started on my Kindle Firewalkers by Adrian Tchaikovsky. This is one of the ones I got from NetGalley. Trying to knock those out 1 or 2 a month. That way I can actually catch up and get the reviews in, so they'll actually give me stuff again in the future. Because basically they gave me 12 books all at once and said, oh, here you go. I hope you've done the review on them already. I'm like, oh, I can't get to all of them at once, but they don't know that all the other publishers were giving me stuff, so it's not their fault. It's my fault. I put too much on my plate. My eyes were bigger than my stomach or something, however that saying goes. So Adrian Tchaikovsky, Firewalkers, it looks good, so I want to try it. So to keep going with the Dresden Files read-along, Death Masks, Book 5 in the Dresden Files read-along. This one, I'm really enjoying Dresden. And this is the first one I'm not going to read on audiobook. I've got Stormfront and Full Moon. I don't have 3 and 4, and then I found this one at Goodwill the other day and wanted to pick it up because my library no longer has the audiobooks. And so I'm just going to have to read them in ebook, and then I saw this physical book, so I said, let's get it. Something I've been wanting to do is trying some poetry. I found this at Goodwill as well, T.S. Eliot, The Wastelands and Other Poems. Not very big. I could probably read a couple of them, but consider Plebius is a T.S. Eliot, part of a T.S. Eliot poem. And when I started the first of the book, I thought, man, that's part of it. The title comes from a T.S. Eliot poem, and I found this just the other day. So I really need to try to get into some poetry. So I might hop into this a little bit. Me and the kids have been reading Wizard of Oz. We try to do a chapter a night, but we've kind of been slacking off with quarantine. So I want to hop back into this and finish it up. It's been good so far. If you've seen the movie, this is different than the movie. And there's actually a bunch of other books, so I'd love to check out the rest of them as well. The nonfiction book I want to read is The Color of Compromise by Jamar Tisby, sorry. And it's really about the Christian church and their complacency towards racism. Not that they're outright racist, but they're not really fighting against racism. And it's a neat way to kind of go into the racism talk with everything that's going on in the country, and from a Christian perspective, which I'm a Christian, and wanted to see how we can fight against that from a Christian perspective, and I really want to see what this is all about. So I found it on Hoopla, and I'm gonna rent it, and hopefully nonfiction books on audiobook are so much easier for me. If I'm driving, I can just consume the information, and it's not I don't like fall asleep or get tired or anything like that. It's much easier for me to do nonfiction through audiobook. So really excited that was on Hoopla for me to check out. I'd love to get to this. Don't think I will, but The Alloy of Law. I got this I've had it on Kindle for a while. I've started it twice and never really finished it, but I want to do some more Cosmere stuff and I want to get to it. I've read Mistborn Era 1, liked it. Mistborn Era 2, I actually kind of liked the first couple chapters. I just kind of sputtered out on it and I want to get into it some more. And so the other things I kind of want to hit is I'd love to do a little bit more on the William Faulkner stuff with Codex Cantina. They've got a bunch of stuff already out, and hopefully I can get into that a little bit more. And if I can, finish Hunchback of Notre Dame, which I started with Christy Lewis's book club, and they've already finished. I'm just way behind. And then The Poppy War, which I have on my Kindle. Been at 50% on that one for a long, long time, and I'd love to finish it up. So that's what I've got. I know that was long and rambly. I didn't really give good explanations on the books, but I will try to be better about that next time. So thank you guys so much. Please subscribe to the channel if you want to learn more about these books. I'm more of a dedicated book review guy, and I would love to share some thoughts with you guys. I love you. See you later. Bye.